Welcome back to the Neutral Zone. Today we're going to be reacting to the CBS Top 25 Power 4 coaches heading into 2024 season. It's obviously been a little while since you guys saw us. Been about 2 months or so. We're going to get back into the swing of things. We're going to try posting every other day. Obviously we're going to be doing our preview videos, kind of predicting standings, stuff like that, predicting the playoffs. So it's going to be fun. Our next live show is going to be next Sunday. I believe it might be June 1st, either June 1st or June 2nd, right around there. So not this Sunday, but next Sunday. And we're going to get into a little bit more of the college football talk. We look forward to seeing all you guys. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and pull up the list we're going to be reacting to. So just to get right into it, number 25, Matt Campbell out of Iowa State. I don't really have much to say about them.
I respect it.
Yeah, Iowa State is a borderline top 25 team pretty much every year. I know my Clemson Tigers played them like 2 or 3 years ago in a bowl game, if I'm not mistaken. We ended up winning that game, but they're a respectable team every single year. So, I mean, I don't really have too much to say. I think Matt Campbell's a really good coach.
Yeah, he's been there for a little while. They've been respectable, like you said.
So it does show on here, right here, that he was ranked 35 last year. So he moved up 10 spots, which is pretty awesome for him. But it's kind of moving into the next spot. We have 24 Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman. He moved up again as well. I would say their last season, I want to know on your end, their last season, did you feel like it was kind of a disappointment for Notre Dame?
So I was concerned about their weapons to begin with. And I think that really came to fruition. I don't want to say it was a disappointment. I think they finished about what I would have expected. I can't remember what I said in the preview video, but I thought they would lose to Ohio State. I thought the Clemson game could go either way. They did have some definite bright spots against USC. I think Marcus Freeman's probably better than 24th. I think he's a really good coach. So I'll see as we kind of go through the rest of this list.
Yeah, I think 24 is a little bit disrespectful, but at the same time, he hasn't really done anything to earn a spot anything higher. So I'm not super mad at it. I think bringing in Riley Leonard's going to be big. But I had a conversation with one of my friends, and they said, Riley Leonard was a top 5 quarterback heading into the year. He's borderline top 20, top 5. I don't agree with that. I think we said the same thing about Sam Hartman, and when Sam Hartman went to Notre Dame, he kind of fell off. So hopefully Riley Leonard kind of fits in with Notre Dame a little bit better than Sam Hartman did. I do think they're going to be pretty good, though. Obviously, Bo Collins goes over there. They bring back Benjamin Morrison. They did lose Audric Estime. They lost Sam Hartman, obviously. They lose a defensive lineman. I forget his name off the top of my head, but they lost him as well. I think he was an edge rusher. But I still think Notre Dame's going to be a pretty good team. I know they play Florida State this year, so that's going to be a pretty good game, but I like Marcus Freeman there. Moving on, you have Josh Heupel. He went down 7 spots. I mean, I think that was pretty obvious given that they were a top 6 team, with Hendon Hooker. They fell back considerably last year. I don't know if that makes him a worse coach. Now, if you want to say that the program fell back a little bit, I'm okay with that, but I don't think that makes him a worse coach.
Yeah, and that would have been my point exactly. You lost everything that made the team 2 years ago great, from both of your starting receivers to your Heisman candidate quarterback. You lost all of that. You were able to still put together, I thought, a pretty good season, a serviceable season. Obviously, probably not the aspirations that they were looking for, but 9-4 is not anything to be mad at. I think Josh Heupel showed better coaching last year than maybe the year before when he had all the weapons. I think the fact that they were able to pull off 9-4 when you kind of looked and I did have high hopes for them, but some of that stuff didn't work out. Joe Milton didn't work out at the quarterback, so some stuff didn't work out, but they were still able to pull off a 9-4 season. I thought that was really due to him being a pretty good coach.
Yeah, I think they're going to be pretty good this year. Obviously, with Nico coming in, I think the SEC is pretty wide open. You have Alabama's probably going to take a step back. Obviously, Ole Miss takes a step forward. You have Georgia reloading. LSU may take a step back. Texas and Oklahoma move over. So the SEC is going to be really fun this year. Moving on, you have Sonny Dykes out of TCU. Moved back 11 spots from last year. They had him ranked as the number 1 coach, I'm assuming, last year, because if he's number 11 now and he moved back 11 spots, which is surprising.
He's number 22 right now. And he moved back, so he's number 11 last year.
That makes sense.
We got to work on your math.
No, I wasn't looking at the 22. I was just looking at the 11. But I do like him here as well. I think he's a really good coach. I don't think he's a top 10, borderline top 10 at 11 coach. I don't think that. So I like him at 22. What do you think about him?
Yeah, I'm not mad at this. I mean, not much to be said. Obviously, a down year last year compared to being in the national championship 2 years ago.
And then the Mizzou coach, Eli Drinkwitz, I don't know too much about him. He moves up 30 spots off of that 1 year. I don't agree with that, though, because I think that can be said for a lot of coaches then. I think you have to show consistency. I don't think he's a top 20 coach. I guess we'll see this season. But obviously they had a breakout year this year, but I don't think they can creep up on anybody, in this upcoming season. I think their game is going to be circled on other teams' calendars. So we'll see how good of a coach he actually is. No disrespect to JB and his Missouri Tigers, but I just don't know enough about him.
Yeah, I think this is a TBD. I want to see what they do this year.
And then you have Mark Stoops out of Kentucky. How do you feel about Mark Stoops being number 18, only moving back, or being number 20, moving back 18 from 18 last year?
Yeah, I think Stoops has done a pretty good job at Kentucky, who was a notorious bottom feeder in the SEC in terms of football, keeping them somewhat consistent, keeping them a winning team in the SEC. So I think he is a very good coach. I'd like to see him even maybe at a bigger program where you're talking about national championship contenders. But right now at 20, that's a good spot for him.
Yeah, I think he's doing well in his situation. Obviously, he's in the SEC, so he has one of the tougher schedules in all of college football, and I think he's making do in that scenario. So I like him at 20. I would like to see him kind of continue to build Kentucky. I don't know how good he would be able to do at a bigger program with the expectations being a little bit higher. But I mean, I like him here. He had a 10-win season last season, if I'm not mistaken. 7-1, 71-55 after a 2-10 first season there. So pretty good. But moving on, Jeff Brom out of Louisville, obviously one of the teams that I had high expectations for last year. Do I think he's a top 20 coach? I don't know. Like I said, I think Louisville's success was much more catered to the scenario they were in and the schedule that they had. So I don't know how good of a coach he is. Do I think he's a number 19 coach? It's hard to see. It's hard to tell. We'll see how he kind of responds to the expectation of being a top 20 coach heading into this year. What do you think about him, though?
No, good coach. Yeah, I'm not mad at this spot, but I think, again, this is another big year. Need to continue to see that consistency.
Kirk Ferentz, I'm not sure if I pronounced that name right. I know someone told me a long time ago I didn't pronounce it right, and he's like the most tenured coach in college football, if I'm not mistaken.
He is.
I think he should be a little bit higher than this, actually. This might be a hot take. The reason being, obviously, they don't have great offensive explosiveness, but Iowa has always been a very tough out for any team they played. And Iowa's not a big recruiting program. They're not in a recruiting hotbed. So the fact that you can consistently compete against the top programs in the country, have consistently a top 5 defense, top 10 defense in all of college football, that goes to show that you are a great coach. If you don't have the best talent, and you're making do what you can with the talent you have, I think that has to go show for something. So I think 18 is a little bit low for him. I'd probably have him at like 15. We'd obviously have to see what the rest of these, coaches look like, but he moved up 12 spots, so I respect that, but he's at 18.
My only concern here, and I don't know if you remember this, but there were some whispers about the Iowa program and the coaching and the coaches and the atmosphere. I think he has kind of said, almost in a Dabo Swinney kind of way, that kind of said, this is the culture that we're going to create. This is who we're going to be. And it works for Iowa. And it's worked for him for 20 years now or plus. So, that is who he is, and that's how he's going to coach. So I think he's a great coach, especially given what they've produced versus the talent they've gotten in. But I do have concerns about the culture of Iowa. I think there's been some talks of racism and mistreatment of players there in the past couple of years.
Moving on, we have Wisconsin with Luke Fickell. Luke Fickell's a really good coach, obviously. He took Cincinnati to the college football playoff. Obviously, at Wisconsin, they had what was the quarterback they brought over from SMU? Mordecai, I believe.
Mordecai, yes, Tanner Mordecai.
And we thought that they were going to kind of open the offense up a little bit more. I feel like they started to at the beginning of the year, and then they went right back to, tailor-made Wisconsin football. They had Chez Malusi early on. I think he hurt him. He got hurt in the early on part of the season, so they lost him. Obviously, you had Braylon Allen, who I believe is gone now, if I'm not mistaken. I think Malusi's coming back.
In the NFL.
So I'm excited to see kind of where this program takes. Obviously, the Big Ten, I don't think they have divisions anymore. So it's going to be interesting to see where Wisconsin lies now. Wisconsin has always been I would say top 5 or so team in the Big Ten, give or take, right around top 5, maybe 6. So I want to see how they look with Oregon, Washington, USC, getting into the picture, and obviously Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State not having to, battle so much for that one spot to get to the Big Ten title game anymore. But I think Luke Fickell at 17 is fair. He was number 9 last year, so moving back 8 spots.
Yeah, the only thing I would say here, and I like Luke, obviously an Ohio State alum. I think French should be higher than him. I think he's proven a little bit more in college football, though. Again, like you mentioned, Luke Fickell did take a team to the college football playoffs. I want to see what it looks like in Power 5 or Power 4 football now, and he has not yet shown that success there. Cincinnati was a Group of 5 team that was able to, we'll say, sneak into the playoffs. I want to see him win at this level.
I agree. Moving on to 16, we have NC State, Dave Doran. I think he's a really good coach. I like the fact that he moved up 9 spots. I think this is another one of those teams that don't have the best talent, but they always have one of the toughest defenses in college football. They're always battling. They obviously beat Clemson this year in a really good game. I think this team is consistent. I think the coach is consistent. I think he, like I said, consistently has one of the best defenses in not only the ACC, but college football. I think there's a lot to desire offensively, though, and that's where I think they could improve. But I like him at 16. I'd still probably take Luke Ferentz over him. I'm not sorry. Ferentz over him, but I'm not mad at Doran being at 16.
Yeah, so you made my exact point. I think as we kind of continue up this list, you're showing to be a little bit disrespectful to the Iowa coach, Ferentz, but no, not to Doran.
But like you said, we are going to continue on to this list. Today, we're just going to do 25 to 16. We're going to do 15 to 1 in the next video. This video is going to be dropping on Friday, tomorrow, probably tomorrow morning. Or today, I guess you'd say, when you guys are watching it. But we recorded it on Thursday. We're going to be continuing to post every other day, with our next live being next Sunday. So we hope to see you guys there. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. College football starts in, I believe, in 99 days. So it's going to be fun to preview all the teams. The offseason's going by really, really quick. Those of you guys who are college football video game fans, we're getting a lot of news there. We'll probably talk about that on the channel as well. But thank you guys so much, and we will see you guys in 2 days for the next 15 to 1 ranking. Peace out, everybody.
It's good to be back.